estoy el Warlock Miguel Guerrero. Y escuchar este momento con el The Devil You Know podcast. Preparar por sexo de tu eardrums. Hey, John, you're right. There is chocolate milk in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 72. The Devil You Know. I am Dorian Gray.
I am John Shaw.
And with us is...
Adam Roberts.
Yeah. See, that's a little different. A little different way of introducing this show.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy, man. I don't know. I'm already annoyed by him. That didn't sound right. No.
Episode 72, man.
Yeah. What's going on? Oh, by the way, right at the top of the show, I wanted to give a little shout out to a friend of ours, Mr. Patrick DeMarco, who today posted that he actually talked a female into agreeing to touch his penis on a regular basis, which is remarkable.
Yes.
Got the moves.
Or no, I guess he proposed. She said yes.
Yeah. And
congratulations.
You guys didn't
Patrick.
know he was going to do it, but I knew he was going to do it.
You knew he'd do it someday.
No, he told me he was going to go take her there and do it.
Someday he was going to do it. And he finally did it.
No, I met her. She's fucking awesome, dude. Samantha's really, 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 really a cool chick. Down to earth and just awesome. Perfect for him. I think he... yeah, so congratulations, Patrick. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good for you, buddy.
So how do we top that? What can we talk about to top that?
We got a lot of show to do.
Yeah, we do.
What do we do?
We've got Vix coming on with a book review, new segment. We've got Christian Grant doing his thing.
I don't know. Is he talking about his thing? Because that's a little aggressive.
I don't know yet. I didn't listen to it, so we're gonna. I'm going to hear it for the first time like everyone else. So. Bullshit, John, the show's edited. Yeah, that's right. But and we're still talking about moving to video. I think it's going to be happening. I think people will like it. On YouTube you can watch it, and if not, listen to it. It's still audio will still be available. We're not moving over there. We're just going to include video.
I'm just worried that like when a guest is like rambling and like we're like, then we can't stop and like text message or roll our eyes.
Well, it's not going to be live, so it's still edited, so we can just say it. Okay, all right, but
just blank out that screen.
Up, land the plane. Yeah, totally. So let's do it.
Anyway, the show's growing, so let's just keep going.
Let's do it. All right, man.
All right, guys, my name is Vix. I'm going to be giving you a book review on The Prince by Machiavelli. It comes from a very interesting time period of the Renaissance. Machiavelli wrote this book as a suggestion to the Medici family, who was trying to keep Italy from falling under foreign rule, and after the Borgia family pretty much ruined Italy by greed and falling it apart, the Medici family started picking it up, and Machiavelli wrote this to a family friend, and the guy actually didn't agree with a lot of these concepts because they're extremely brutal, anti-Christian. It appeared on the Pope's Index of Prohibited Books in 1559. So his concepts really are something to be admired, especially for when they were written. They set the question of rulers of multiple stations, of monarchies or independents that rose to power and were elected through individuals. And even though we don't run on a monarchy system anymore, in a capitalist society, a lot of this is relatable because people can come up to power and being CEOs of companies running their own businesses in arts and media and multiple other venues. This would be actually a very important piece of literature to read for anyone that wants to understand exactly what they have to do to not only get in those positions of power, but keep them as well. He explores human nature and a more realistic concept of being inherently self-interest, which was foreign at the time. He came up with that famous quote that it is better to be feared than loved, because a fear is a more reliable backing base, as love will be disposed and sacrificed more likely in favors of self-interest. So if you have people that fear you because you are precise, you are analytical, you will do whatever it takes to keep your position of power, then nobody's going to fight with you. No one's going to try and take it away. They're going to fear you, so they're going to try and keep on your good side, which is generally better than being loved and admired in a benevolent way, because people will often dispose of that in favor of themselves and what they can do by benefiting by betraying you. So like if you're in a job and you happen to be the crew leader and one of your crewmates doesn't fear you, they really adore you, but they're like, hey, if you got any dirt on, so-and-so, and you let me know, I'll give you their position and you don't have to worry about her. And that person might, without fearing you or fearing what might happen if they did that to you, turn around their back to you, even though they do love you, and do something to commit to their own goals and their own position. One of my favorite quotes from this book, however, which is an absolute love this quote. It's called, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are." And to go into further detail, this laid out the framework for duplicity. If you were to be generous but not to give away your own, like Alexander the Great conquered many countries, and instead of giving away Rome and things that he owned or his daughters to his first wife, he would marry people in other places and give away things from his conquest of other countries to the countries that he conquered next. And this way, he didn't give away the bricks to his own foundation. He gave away bricks of things that he didn't really need but showed power, fooling these people into thinking he was giving them something that actually cost them. But since it was a plus for them to have it, it kind of cycled this form of gratitude, which was actually more cleverness than benevolence and playing on the mind and all that good stuff. I think this is similar of do unto others as they would do unto you, with the tail note of not having them be aware. As people recognize quicker what they do themselves, it takes cleverness and a touch of finesse to truly embrace the concepts that Machiavelli laid out in this text. I think one of my favorite parts of this is that he says a lot about how if someone came from, to put it in real modern times, if someone came from like the ghetto or a country bumpkin living on very little and worked their way up to, going back to the ever-present CEO rep example, if someone worked their way up to that, it would be far more impressive and they would be able to hold more of a countenance than someone who just was born into a wealthy family and was already at that level of class to start with, and then adapted these concepts from their family members or their family friends and their influence in childhood, because it takes more work to come from nothing than it does for anything else. And you will also have more respect of a wider variety of people coming from the dirt and working your way up, rather than coming from a birthright and working your way up, because you don't have as much respect earned as you do the first way. There's a huge amount of concepts in this book. However, I mean, it is very detailed. It can be a little hard to read because it is a piece of Renaissance literature. And if you've ever tried to read Shakespeare, there's a few weird words in there. But overall, this book is an absolute for any Satanist. I mean, it's basically a guide to power, and it's absolutely timeless. So this is a short read, but the information is timeless. The Prince by Machiavelli can find in almost any bookstore, from Barnes & Nobles to your local corner shop. It's definitely an asset. I suggest any Satanist should read it, especially if you have the cleverness to rise to power by any means accurately calculated. This book is definitely going to give you some insight on how exactly to accomplish your goals.
What grinds my gears? With Christopher Walken.
Hello, fellow members. It's time, once again, for Grind My Gears with your host with the most, Christopher Walken, me. Recently, it's come to my attention that we have the craziest after-school program. And I saw the poster and I thought, my God, this guy's a pervert pedophile. He's holding out a piece of candy like, hey, you want to lick my lollipop? Plus, he's got his one eye staring at me. It's like he's a meat gazer. You know what that is? When you're at the urinal, some guys gazing at your meat like your old friends. Like he wants to cuddle up with your penis. It's weird. Doesn't have the moves at all. Makes you gross. It's like a test. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Be wandering. Not gonna get any answers, except that I'm nicer than yours. When I look at this poster and his one eye staring at me, it makes me think of my one eye and how much I love the guy, but I don't want people staring at him. It's weird. I even use urinals without any piss shields. It's bad. Guys can just stare at your wiener. It's gross. That's what really grinds my gears. Yeah!
What grinds my gears? With Christopher Walken.
Just a young Satanist, yeah. It's a challenge for any young Satanist to be taken seriously by those who close to them, and often it's best to simply tuck the Baphomet. Such is the case for me concerning family. It avoids conflict and drama, and frankly, it's for me, not for others. But I am open with some members of my extended family, and some word getting around is to be expected. So, every so often, I get pulled aside or sent a text by a more theistically inclined family member legitimately concerned for me. Over the last 4 or so years, I've learned an effective strategy in resolving such situations, and perhaps this method could help you in your life. First, I let the individual know that Satanism is not what they think it is, and I understand their concern. To get angry over the situation is to be solipsistic. These family members are legitimately trying to make sure I'm doing well and are coming to me to help me live a bit better life as they see it. Then I inform them that I would like to set aside some time to spend with them, answering their questions and explaining what it is that I believe. This both makes them open to listening, as it now is about me devoting time to their concerns, and allows me to talk openly about Satanism for an extended period of time, which is something I enjoy. It's very freeing to be open about things. When the time comes to have that conversation, I always expect the typical questions. You know, if not devil worship, then what? Why Satan? How did you get into this? Etc. But there's always one question that I have learned is the key to being taken seriously and respected. The question is, would you be willing to come to a church service with me and tell me what you think? This is a question I always answer yes to, and emphatically. Why? Because Christian church is the great legitimizer. Going with that family member and paying attention shows them a multitude of things. First, I'm willing to give it a shot for them. I know that I'm secure in knowing I am a Satanist. An hour or two of sitting in a room full of Christians telling this guy that they're still Christian and listening to music that is mediocre at best is not going to change that. The drama that will be avoided by this gesture alone is worth more to me than the time. Second, the demonstration of my understanding of Christianity and the service I attended reassures them that I understand their fear, and I understand what it is that I am intentionally not being a part of. Between the first two alone, I've showed them that I'm not missing the point they probably thought I was, and that I gave that point another chance and still found it inadequate. The third and perhaps most important thing it shows is that I respect them. and I can be mature about my beliefs rather than spouting off to the world and trying to offend people. It shows that it isn't about appearances or being edgy. It's about a philosophy that works. The three together both legitimize the satanic religion in the individual's mind and legitimize my affiliation with it. After I am taken to church, the subject is never approached again with any seriousness. If anything, an occasional ribbing is to be expected. Of course, this isn't just applicable to family, and it isn't necessary to legitimize Satanism to anyone. Satanism is a legitimate religion founded on sound philosophy, whether your family feels that way or not. Oftentimes, this strategy will fall on deaf ears, and a simple lie would work much better in the end. Remember, the last thing you want to do is martyr yourself just to be open about one word. While neither attending church nor pretending to be Christian sounds good, it is best to remember the words of Epicurus, quote, "And since pleasure is the first good and natural to us, for this very reason we do not choose every pleasure, but sometimes we pass over many pleasures when greater discomfort accrues to us as a result of them. And similarly, we think many pains better than pleasures, since a greater pleasure comes to us when we have endured pain for a long time." Or, in the words of a friend from high school, sometimes you gotta push through the hurdy to make your life look purty.
Just a young Satanist, yeah.
The lurid descriptions in such texts would be almost humorous were it not for the unhappy fact that even though contemporary sexologists, doctors, writers, etc. have done much to remove the stigma of masturbation, the deep-seated guilts induced by the nonsense in those sexual primers have been only partially erased. A large percentage of people, especially those over 40, cannot emotionally accept the fact that masturbation is natural and healthy, even if they now accept it intellectually, and they, in turn, relate their repugnance, often subconsciously, to their children. It was thought that one would go insane if, despite numerous admonitions, his autoerotic practices persisted. This preposterous myth grew from reports of widespread masturbation by the inmates of mental institutions. It was assumed that since almost all incurably insane people masturbated, it was their masturbation that had driven them mad. No one ever stopped to consider that the lack of sexual partners of the opposite sex and the freedom from inhibition, which is a characteristic of extreme insanity, were the real reasons for the masturbatory practices of the insane. Many people would rather have their mates seek outside sexual activity than perform autoerotic acts because of their own guilt feelings, the mate's repugnance towards having them engage in masturbation, or the fear of their mate's repugnance. Although, in a surprising number of cases, a vicarious thrill is obtained from the knowledge that the mate is having sexual experiences with outsiders, although this is seldom admitted. If stimulation is provided by envisioning one's mate sexually engaged with others, this should be brought out into the open where both parties may gain from such activities. However, if the prohibition of masturbation is only due to guilt feelings on the part of one or both parties, they should make every attempt to erase those guilts or utilize them. Many relationships might be saved from destruction if the people involved did not feel guilt about performing the natural act of masturbation. Masturbation is regarded as evil because it produces pleasure derived from intentionally fondling a forbidden area of the body by one's own hand. The guilt feelings accompanying most sexual acts can be assuaged by the religiously acceptable contention that your sensual delights are necessary to produce offspring, even though you cautiously watch the calendar for the safe days. You cannot, however, placate yourself with this rationale while engaging in masturbatory practices. No matter what you've been told about the Immaculate Conception, even if blind faith allows you to swallow this absurdity, you know full well if you are to produce a child, there must be sexual contact with a person of the opposite sex. If you feel guilty for committing the original sin, you certainly will feel even deeper guilt for performing a sex act only for self-gratification, with no intention of creating children. The Satanist fully realizes why religionists declare masturbation to be sinful. Like all other natural acts, people will do it, no matter how severely reprimanded. Causing guilt is an important facet of their malicious scheme to obligate people to atone for sins by paying the mortgages on temples of abstinence. Even if a person is no longer struggling under the burden of religiously induced guilt, or thinks he isn't, modern man still feels shame if he yields to his masturbatory desires. A man may feel robbed of his masculinity if he satisfies himself autoerotically rather than engaging in the competitive game of woman chasing. A woman may satisfy herself sexually but yearns for the ego gratification that comes from the sport of seduction. Neither the quasi-Casanova nor Bocchus vamp feels adequate when reduced to masturbation for sexual gratification. Both would prefer even an inadequate partner. Satanically speaking, though, it is far better to engage in a perfect fantasy than to cooperate in an unrewarding experience with another person. With masturbation, you are in complete control of the situation. To illustrate the undebatable fact that masturbation is an entirely normal and healthy practice, it is performed by all members of the animal kingdom. Human children will also follow their instinctive masturbatory desires unless they have been scolded for it by their indignant parents, who were undoubtedly berated for it by their parents, and so on, down the retrocedent line. It is unfortunate but true that the sexual guilt of parents will immutably be passed on to their children. In order to save our children from the ill-fated sexual destiny of our parents, grandparents, and possibly ourselves, the perverted moral code of the past must be exposed for what it is. A pragmatically organized set of rules which, if rigidly obeyed, would destroy us. Unless we emancipate ourselves from the ridiculous sexual standards of our present society, including the so-called sexual revolution, the neurosis caused by those stifling regulations will persist. Adherence to the sensible and humanistic new morality of Satanism can and will evolve society in which our children can grow up healthy and without the devastating moral encumbrances of our existing sick society.
All right, John, for episode 72, our guest blows me away with his stories.
Love it. Reminds me of a Steel Panther song with off their new
Yeah.
album, Lower the Bar, just came out.
That's right.
Love it.
Anyway,
yeah. Who is he, you might ask?
All right, guys. So this week I've decided to bring on Technical Sergeant from the U.S. Air Force. He's retired in 2002. Nuclear Security Officer from the Naked Gun Boobs, as you know, on the side of the freeway going down to San Diego. Just a really interesting guy. He's involved in the archive project with the COS. He's doing some virtual reality stuff. He's flown planes before. He's sailed boats. Just real interesting cat, and I thought that you guys would appreciate it. And so without further ado, we have Warlock Miguel Guerrero.
What you think about that? All right, knock off the applause. How's it going, sir?
Good. Hey, I want to thank you. This is the first time I've ever been in the TDYK studios.
Yeah.
You guys have done a hell of a job. I didn't know that you actually had a studios with the two-person desk up there.
Yeah.
And what? Adam, thank you. Did Adam just hand out a glass of champagne or what?
It
This
is.
is awesome, dudes.
That was
here's your
bio that you like champagne, so we had to do that.
Here's your complimentary geisha girl.
Oh, hey.
Okay. Here, swallow this little blue pill. It's good for you.
There you go.
Alrighty.
Actually, it's good for her. Anyway, what you been up to lately?
Well, as you know, if you've been following me on Facebook,
What's that?
I've just been released from exile, no longer in purgatory, and not the good, fun purgatory either. No. I was in Iowa for a year. There was absolutely nothing to do there. And then on my way home, I stopped in Colorado for a month and a half and talked with a nice couple people there who happened to either be ready to become members of the organization or are big fans of our organization. They happened to notice a very discreet ring that I wear. And then they noticed the
Boy
one
Scouts of America.
John. Yeah, because then I got the one that I got from John. No, my Novshmos Kapap ring that I wear on my left hand, and then she noticed the big Baphomet ring.
Well, people don't know what that is. If you remember the old Church of Satan website, on the bottom it had that trapezoid, and it said Nov Shmos Kapap in it. And everyone's like, what does that mean?
Well, it's my family.
Yeah.
No rest for the wicked.
Yes.
So I made that as a subtle back before the DC conclave when people were still kind of quiet about affiliations. And I figured if anybody saw it, they would automatically know. And then at the DC conclave, John came up with these and everybody said, to hell with it. We want everybody to know. And I love it. And I love it. I love that transition. I love how we've gone from that.
Yeah.
Brought to you by iSatanist.
Highly recommended by Hellraisers everywhere. Then I got to Tucson, and a member heard that I was going through, and Matt sent me a message saying, "Hey, we got to have lunch." So we had a quick
to do down there either.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was seeing actual members again.
Yeah.
Actual people that I knew. I couldn't even get to Colorado Springs. I had to stop in Denver because a good friend of mine, Colin McKenna, was there, and he wanted me to stop and have coffee. So just getting out of Iowa put me back towards good-thinking, civilized people. And then a fast 5-hour lunch with Matt, and then another fast evening in Phoenix with the wonderful people that we had up there. It was just a whirlwind.
Who were they?
And then to come home to family here in the Leviathan Grotto area is just, and when I say family, I'm specifically referring to them.
Yeah.
Usually if you see expletive-related comments on my Facebook, it's relating to the other type of family. So, yeah, it's nice to be out of purgatory.
Awesome.
See, you asked a 2-second question and got a 3-minute answer.
That's what we need. Cause
Wait, yeah, what was the question? I don't remember.
What am I up to these days?
What you up to?
So now I just roll along.
Don't ask how he's doing.
Yeah, don't ask how I'm doing. But no, it's things are getting better. And I've got some projects on the books that I'm starting to work on, and seeing key people that I've been needing to see for the past year and a half.
Nice.
All right.
How have you been doing, Dorian?
I am, I'm doing great, man. Can't complain. I moved from one beach to the other, so. But I do miss Callie, man. It was good hanging out with you there, and Callie is we miss it, but water's too fucking cold, so.
Yeah, it's nice and warm there, but you guys don't have the civilized sharks. They eat you there. Here, they kind of pretty much leave you alone.
What are you talking about?
I'm having fish tonight. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Anyway,
no, I gotta say, Miguel, it was great having you out here in Phoenix, even for that short time. It was good catching up with you again and shooting the shit and talking about things. It was great.
Man, I just, to be honest with you, man, you have absolutely no idea what a pleasure it was for me. Because you and I have met before a couple times before. We've talked about different things before. Mm-hmm. You were one of the last, in fact, you were the last satanic social face that I saw. So you were the last civilized social face that I saw before I got to Iowa. So to be one of the very first faces that I come back across on my way to San Diego was just poetic justice.
Nice.
It made my day.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, listen.
So
you go ahead.
What have you been up to? I want to know what kind of not what you've been up to as far as Iowa, but I mean like
nothing there.
Let's talk projects.
Well, I started to make the change again back in Iowa, and some of you may have seen them.
That midlife crisis change.
The what?
Not change. Chains. Like necklaces.
And no, not like down in your basement, John.
I'm in Arizona. There's no such thing as a basement here. It's so
He's
weird.
going through the life change.
Nobody knows that. But I started to get little jump rings. As a jeweler, you know what I'm talking about. For the others who don't, they're just basically circles made of metal that are cut open. And I would link them together to create a box chain out of them. And for grins and giggles, a few years ago, I made one 666 links, which just seemed the right length for putting around with your robe on and mounting your Baphomet to. So I made a few, and I shipped them out. I sent one to Zachary, and I sent one with a bracelet to Milton Kruger from, Raising Hell.
Oh, lucky
and
them.
They enjoyed it.
I'm looking at mine right now.
In San Diego liked it. Then I made one for the Magus and the Magistra, and they seemed to like it. It tells you how much there is to do in Iowa, that I'm sitting here linking 666 individual links together and going, hey, who should I send this to? And then for a few people like Zachary and Milton, I actually bought wooden boxes, sanded them, stained them, lacquered them, lined them in felt, and built a shelf into them so that they could present the box, the chain better that way. So I started to do that. Started to work on the chains. And then Adam, I think it was Adam, that asked me to send one to Magistra Ukraine for the recipient of the Witch of the Year.
Wow.
And
nice.
Because it was for Magistra Ukraine, I'll be honest with you, I was on the fence. And if you ask him, he'll tell you, because it takes time, and I was getting ready to leave Iowa, and I was afraid I couldn't get it done. But when he mentioned Magistra Ukraine's name, I said, not only will I do it, but I'll make two, so that she can have one, because I owe her a debt of gratitude over the expression, the coinage of a phrase of a Christian heretic for Satanists that believe in a real Satan. And it has made it so much easier for me to talk to people when I'm asked legitimate questions and answer. Oh, so you worship the devil? No, that's a Christian heretic. I'm a Satanist. And for them, it's made it so much easier to digest it. So I sent 2 to them so that she would get one in the Magistra Waits, the Witch of the Year. I think she said that she was a Witch of Eternity. Not sure. But sent one to her. So I've been making those.
Awesome.
But that's not enough of a challenge.
It's not.
So,
no.
Let's hold off on that. Don't mention it yet. I wanted to go back in time a little bit because I want them to understand, the what encapsulates Miguel, all of it. So I heard before we get into Satanism or anything like that, you were in the Air Force in 2002, right? You retired.
Actually, I retired from the Air Force in August of 2002. Yeah, after a very short 21 years.
21 years. That's how long my brother's been in, actually.
Let's talk about that, because that's a big thing. And thank you for your service.
Didn't do it for you, but you're welcome.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But you told me you did it for me. No, but seriously, I mean that's a big thing. I mean, what happened? Anything exciting? Anything memorable from your service that you remember that you'd like to mention?
The first couple of years, I was a United States Air Force security policeman. And now, I don't know if you know this or not, but a very famous actor attended the United States Air Force Security Police Academy, the same academy I attended. And he is he was made an honorary Marine, which shows you it is easier for an airman to become an honorary Marine than for a Marine to ever become an honorary airman, because we've never done that. And this guy is so cool that when I tell you his name, you're going to be in awe. None other than, I believe he attained the rank of sergeant. I could be wrong. The security police officer, Chuck Norris.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. Very cool.
Okay, so Chuck and I, we go way back at completely different years, completely different time frames, but by God, we attended the Air Force Security Police Academy. Not together, but So yeah, Chuck Norris was an Air Force cop. I was an
So
Air
then
Force
you can't verify if beneath his beard is another fist.
I could, but I'm not going to upset the man.
Okay.
There's some professional courtesies that we have there, but that's something that I'm very, very always happy to tell people about. But attended Security Police Academy in 1981, long time ago. Stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, of all places, in Las Vegas, Nevada. And you do that a couple more times. I was one guy. In fact, that's the gun right there. Go back to that deep-throated M60.
Deep-throated? Wait, what?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, that very deep-sounding, that machine gun in the back.
That one?
No.
The low. No, the low one.
Oh yeah, that is a belt-fed automatic weapon.
Yes, the gun.
Ceasefire. Yeah, that was what I carried, was the M60. And at the time, for those who have met me, they'll realize when I say I'm twice the man I used to be. I was 115 pounds when I enlisted. Wow. And I was carrying a weapon that was 25, 30 pounds.
And now your beard is 115 pounds.
Yeah, don't I wish. I'm getting there again. And about another 115 pounds. But, that's what I carried. I carried the M60, the M203 grenade launcher, and the M16. A story for another day is how they had to blow up a can of my grenades when I rolled my truck. But I digress. I guarded nuclear bombs for a living.
Wow.
That's right. That's naked gun boobs, right?
Hey, well, I'm getting to that. Years later, I actually worked in the boobs. Then I retrained in education and training. So my job there was make sure everybody got trained, and I got to work with civil engineers, firefighters, cops, people who loaded airplanes. You name the career fields, I got to work with them. And my last 2 years, I went back to working with security forces as what they called an augmentee. And I was scheduled to retire 1 October 2001. And that would have been right at 20, and I could have stayed in for another 2 years. I liked that date because it was binary, you know, 011101. So there's a nice binary number to it. Had my retirement ceremony on July the 3rd. We watched fireworks that night. My nephews couldn't believe that they were actually celebrating my retirement instead of the 4th of July day early. And then on September the 11th, we were watching what I think every American was watching. And within a couple of days, I was back on base pulling my retirement paperwork and going to work with security police full time until the manning levels had gotten up to a point where they didn't need anybody the extra help. So I stayed in roughly, 9-10 extra months right after September the 11th. And just did security police stuff. Just went back to being a cop. Loved it. Retired on August 1, 2002. Went to work at Denver Airport as TSA. Turn your head and cough. I was one of the thousands standing around, operating x-rays and everything else. Then I moved back home to San Diego. Worked for a small pharmaceutical company that John alluded to earlier. I think it was John. It might have been Dorian, but I think it was John that alluded to it earlier.
It was me. Whatever it was me.
It was the little blue pill.
Of course. Yeah, he takes those, so, of course he alluded to it.
I worked for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals.
No, I don't take those contract anymore.
And next time I see you guys in person, I'll tell you a story from that, which kind of sounds funny, but it's...
You had to call a doctor after 4 hours?
No.
One got stuck in your throat and you had a sore... fuck it. What's up?
My daughter got pissed at me one day. We were watching those stupid commercials with the guy that was smiling all day, and it said, if you experience an erection for 4 hours, you need to call a doctor. And I says, oh, shit. My daughter says, what? Says, I need to call a doctor. She says, why? Says, because every time I'm making love, I'm doing it for 4 or 5 hours. She goes, Dad. And I said, what? You have to get that innocent what in there. But she was an adult, so it's not like I was talking to a little girl. And then I went to work for a company that gave me full benefits and awesome pay, enabled me to raise 5 teenagers up by myself. As a single parent. I worked at the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station, or simply known as SONGS, as armed security. So when you're driving from San Diego to LA and you see those great big Dolly Partons on the side of the beach, that's where I worked. And I've been in those Dolly Partons.
Is there chocolate milk in there?
No. 70-foot cafeteria might have it.
It's getting nippy at night.
Which, if you worked there, was a laugh because the 70
I get
cafeteria.
It gets nippy.
Yes, it did get a bit nippy at night. But you know what? You couldn't have found a better place to work. I could be on a post on the beach watching the dolphins swim by, counting seals, looking at all the critters. And because you're on the beach, there's other animal life on the beach also.
Nice.
And other boobs?
A lot of boobs, yeah. And
tell us about those.
When you're guarding anything, you have some very good binoculars to make sure anybody coming near isn't armed.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
No. Well, the zoom cameras were far better. You could get a better view of everything.
Nice.
Guys sitting there with their video cameras out, on their cell phones, recording the video camera zoomed in.
Hey, it's national security, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it's I don't know which he's hiding up into that, so we got to keep an eye on that.
Damn straight.
Take out your cell phones and your laptops.
Yeah. So we did all of that fun stuff, In fact, it was there that I taught myself how to make sterling silver and jewelry. That job paid me very well.
Very nice. So I'm more interested. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say that in a short story is me.
That's a short version. How old were you? And let us know if they had vehicles back then, or if you did it on horseback. How old were you when you happened upon Satanism?
Believe it or not, I believe I was 13 or 14 years old.
Oh, I could believe it.
Was it on a stone tablet?
When I finish the story, you're going to feel bad. There was a young lady that lived near me, and I became friends with. And the young lady who lived near me, I liked her. She was a very intelligent, bright, caring young woman, 13. And she told me she was a Satanist. I said, okay, whatever. Years later, she told me again in high school. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine, whatever. I always considered myself a non-denominational Christian because I couldn't find any church that could quite answer all of my questions. I had too many questions. Well, she ends up graduating from college, moving up to San Francisco, and meeting an individual up there. And I think you guys know who I'm talking about. I come back from Japan, and I had an experience in Japan that was bad. So I'd already known about Satanism. And
wait, tell us about that. What was the experience?
Well, back in 88, 89, I had what we call in the Air Force TDY, temporary duty, kind of like a business trip.
Okay.
I had scheduled to go to Travis Air Force Base in Vacaville, which is just outside of San Francisco. And I knew that my friend was in San Francisco, and I knew that my friend was a Satanist. So I came across the book in the bookstore, Investigating Crime Scenes and Focusing on Satanic Crime Scenes, written by an FBI agent. Well, as an ex-Air Force cop, this is right up my alley. And having this friend right up my alley again. So I read the book so that when I run into her, I don't say anything stupid. Like, well, gee, how do you guys do the sacrifices of babies? All those stupid, crazy things that people think. And I wanted to know more. And what struck me was in the book, the author had made a point to differentiate between members of the Church of Satan of Anton LaVey and people who call themselves Satanists but are in actual reality Christians acting out. Okay? And they were the problem. So we had a reservist that was temporary duty at my base in Japan for 2 weeks, and she saw the book, asked me about it, and I told her it's right up my alley as a cop. And I happen to have a friend who's a member of the organization that I've known for years, and I'm going to go see her. That, on the day this lady left, I get called to the commander's office, and there was 7-page legal pad, handwritten accusations that I was a Satanist, that I was going to San Francisco to participate in satanic rituals, that because of this, by the way, I'm also a bad parent and negligent and abusive, not physically. I ended up with restrictions placed upon me and my household. I had to do a complete psychiatric eval. There were 600, 700, 800 questions, plus a full-blown evaluation by a psychiatrist. Meantime, we had the Air Force Family Advocacy, which was the military equivalent of Child Protective Services, investigating.
Wow. This is 88, right? So this is kind of right.
88, 89, yeah.
Satanic panic was in full effect.
Yeah, and in Japan, we'd already been there a couple of years. We had no idea what any of the satanic panic crap was because you're cut off. You're in a completely different country. You're not getting what you're getting here. Yeah. So for us, this was a shock. And I'm looking at my commander, and one of the times I got told, shut up. I looked at her and said, ma'am, I'm not a Satanist. I'm a Christian. But even if I were, it's covered under the First Amendment. Shut up. Yes, ma'am. So I got cleared. The psychiatrist cleared me of all of this crap. We went on our temporary duty to San Francisco, well, Vacaville, where, by the way, it wasn't like I was going to learn. I was going to help teach computer-based training systems for Headquarters Military Airlift Command to some of its member units. So it wasn't like I'm just some schlup going somewhere stupid. And I got back. Things mellowed out, but I learned real quick. My hands got burnt. My career was very seriously jeopardized by the accusations at the time.
Wow.
When I finally retired, I went to a bookstore up in Denver on my way to the Denver airport. And the hardest book I ever had to buy was the Satanic Bible. Because as a Christian, you're convinced, I'm going to touch this. Just touching this is going to condemn my soul to hell. And I bought
or
it.
anyone seeing you buy it too.
I bought it, and I read it. And mind you, at this point, I'm 40. And this young lady I still know, and I'm reading it. And every question that I've ever had for religion was answered right there. Every why, every but, every I don't understand why this. I walked away from reading that with no questions. I simply said, duh. This is so crisp. It's so clean. This is exactly what I have been saying my whole life. What do you mean if somebody hits me, I got to turn on the other cheek and go, please hit me again? What kind of stupidity is that? Now, what do you mean hurt an animal? All of this stuff that was in the Satanic Bible that so solidified everything that I had already felt and believed anyway. It validated who I was. It let me know that, yeah, I'm 3 degrees off from quote unquote normal people. But that 3 degrees is all the difference it's needed. And I'm not the only one.
Right.
Can you think of a single member in COS you would label as normal? And that word just doesn't even apply to any of us, I don't think.
Na, 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 na. You need to add that music in there. Na, na, na. I can't. But that's the beautiful thing about it, because every single member that I've met has been artistic, has been passionate, and yet at the same time extremely compassionate. Every person I have met has just been high quality, or they haven't stuck around long enough and they left. So they self-exempted themselves. But reading that book did that. So then I picked up the rituals and I read that. Then I decided, okay, I have to read these other 2 books that I've been kind of shying away from for personal reasons, because I already knew that I was going to be prejudiced towards them in their favor. So I read the biography of Anton LaVey, and I read the Church of Satan, and was fascinated, couldn't put them down. Everybody knows these stories. And I'm reading them at the airport. And what I had done was I had covered them in parchment and gave them new titles. Okay, for instance, under the Rituals by Anton LaVey, I titled that Wit and Wisdom of King Darius. The father of Xerxes. What else would you call it? Okay. So I actually had one of my coworkers pick it up, and the only reason I knew was it wasn't where I had left it. And I says, were you reading my book? And he goes, dude, up until it said Church of Satan. I says, it's not my books. So yeah, I read them and I loved them. And then I got all of the other books by Anton LaVey and contacted my friend, and I congratulated her on her books and told her how proud of her I was. And it was a very short time later that I put in for my active membership into the organization. And we kept that association very quiet for a number of years. In fact, all the way up to and through the DC Conclave. Nobody really knew except for 2 people that we had, 3 that knew that we had grown up together. And they were shocked. They were members of our grotto in San Diego. And it had been years, and when they found out, they were like, oh my God, you're kidding. He says, no. I says, well, now everything makes sense. Well, what do you mean? Well, you get here. Nobody knows you. And I love how people do this. But you were driving Blanche Barton. You get that whispered respect, and I love it. I love it so much. And it was like, and yet, who the hell are you? This is now it makes sense. And I says, yeah, well, why didn't you say anything? Well, who needs to know?
Right.
I didn't put it on my application. I didn't want the head office to know.
It's not an accomplishment.
No, it's not. It's a very fortunate circumstance that I happen to know somebody that I respect as much as I do with her. And you guys have seen me. Dorian, you saw me hurting, and yet I think you watched me as I patrolled the area of that show, doing what I've done my whole life, which was security. And I was so comforted to know that the other members of the group there were doing the same thing. We're looking out for her security. I have always done that. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Oh heck
Nice.
yeah. So
that's how I got in.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you identified as a Satanist, did you let any family members know and think your friends and things like that?
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not shy about it. Anything that I do, I'm pretty much obvious. It took 2 years before anybody knew it worked. My mom knew, my dad knew. After a fashion, I let everybody else know. But being typical to who we are, we don't go out and proselytize. We don't say, you should be. If asked, I explain, and I say, no, you're wrong. Here's what we are. But I'll usually tell them, here are the 11 rules of the earth. Tell me one that you find that you disagree with.
Yeah.
And ironically, that never happens. And then I point out that unlike other religions that have 10 commandments, I won't mention which ones, 40% of ours aren't dealing with worship me, fear me, do what I say, and by the way, don't worship any other me's, because there are no other me's, so you have to worship only me because those others don't exist. Well, if they don't exist, why are you even talking about them? So yeah, I've been fairly open. If asked, I admit it and I tell people. But now, thanks to John, it's very seldom an issue, since I wear the ring almost every single day.
Nice.
In fact, it's got, as John will tell you, I have 2 rows of electrician's tape on it because I lost so much weight over the last year that it kept falling off. I was afraid of losing it.
I just wear a T-shirt of me holding hands with John everywhere I go.
Well, that's kind of a given.
Yeah.
Shit.
And I would like to remind you guys, okay, to show you that, yeah, I do listen, okay? Robert is not the only cripple you know. Okay? He may be the Gimp Master. But what do you think of this title, John, for one of those projects? Rolling with the Cripster.
The Cripster.
It's fitting. It's fitting. Do you want to talk about any of the projects?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Not at all. That's why we're here.
John knows about it, but Dorian didn't. The last year in exile, I have, and I love using that. Last year in exile in purgatory, I have been following certain technologies, and I have a Samsung S7 phone. And since there's nothing to do in Iowa, I bought the Samsung VR headset, or virtual reality headset. Yeah. And when you have this on and you watch a 360 video, everywhere you look, you're seeing a different section of the video. It's just like being there. So when you look down, you're seeing the base of the camera. When you look up, the roof, all the way around, the whole 9 yards. And this has intrigued me. So I now have a 360 camera. And what I want to do is twofold. First fold, I want to do within the organization something like the Devil's Parlor, where just as a working title, John has the mission of finding us a good working title for the project. Yeah. Where imagine you're sitting in the dark house, for instance, or better yet, you're sitting in your living room, dining room, den, wherever you're most comfortable at. And we have on one of the chairs there the camera set at right at eye level. And then there's you, there's me, there's maybe one other person, two other people, and all we're doing is talking about whatever, kind of like we do here on the Devil You Know broadcast. But you can bring up whatever subject. So, John, how do you do your sterling silver? What do you got that's coming up? So, Dorian, show me how you do this pointillism, because I'm really fascinated by it. But they get to see you in your environment. And when they put on the headset, now they're sitting in that chair where that camera was. So not only are they looking at you, instead of just seeing that little bit of you that you see in a video interview, every move you make, every gesture with your hands, all your expressions, including those of John when he's rolling his eyes, are seen. And then they can look around and they can take a look at who you are in your own lair. What kind of artwork do you have? Who do you
like catch you scratching your balls and stuff?
Yeah. What's in your sock drawer?
Yeah.
You know, shit like that.
If you can. Well, it's not like they can get in and look around. Imagine
Not yet.
Ebenezer Scrooge with the Ghost of the Past, where these are but shadows and echoes, and you can't move. You're the fly on the wall of that conversation, so you can't really move, but you can look around and you can take in everything in that room. So imagine if we had one with, say, Magistra Ruth Waits and Magistra Barton, and well, those two alone would be fantastic for 10 to 15 minutes. Just let them go.
You can follow Ruth around with it and like see how many Q-tips she finds in a day.
Yeah.
But see, that's the beauty, is she's not stuck to having
Love you, Ruth.
down. She's not. Yeah, love you, Ruth.
Let's not pretend that she listens. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, with her, we'll just keep tossing them on the floor. When she's talking, if she wants to show you something, she could say, well, like this, get up, walk across the room, pull the book off the bookshelf or her current project or whatever, and you're sitting there, but you're able to follow her as if you were sitting in the chair, and you watch her walk over and get what she's getting as she comes back, just like she's at home. And if she's having a sip of coffee, she's having a sip of coffee or tea or kombucha or whatever other drinks.
It's a wonderful idea. It really is. A lot of people would be very interested in that. And the thing that scares me is that a lot of people will be listening to this and then go and do it and steal the idea.
Well, that's fine. If they can do it and they can do it well, that's great. Because the other beautiful thing about it is, Dorian, do you have one of these VR headsets?
No.
Okay. You're not going to be left out. You have a smartphone, right?
Yeah, it's fairly smart. Yeah. I mean, like John says, like my internet runs on a hamster wheel, so like
That's
I'm not
okay.
tech savvy.
You go to YouTube, you can draw down these videos, and using your mouse on your computer or your finger or just moving the phone, you have that full 360 effect there.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a very, very neat thing, you know. So I'm looking at perfecting it. I've gotten to the point to where I have some videos that I've been able to load up to 15
We could
minutes
strap one onto Adam and have him do, just crazy shit, like when he's getting whipped on stage and stuff. That'd be cool.
He's going to tell you he doesn't like it, but I think we've seen 2 or 3 of those videos now.
I saw a smile. I saw a Mona Lisa smile on him. It was great.
That was an oh shit.
You notice this time he wasn't saying, well, I really wasn't into it. My wife forced me to do it. But, that's the neat thing, is you can show things in a much better format. So John and I will talk a couple of ideas when I'm up in Phoenix. So
I think it's definitely good to get, because it's still kind of ground level. I mean, obviously it's growing, but it's going to grow further and further. So getting more into it, getting into it now is definitely a good idea.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to say something, because I made a comment earlier about family and the 2 different families. I got back to San Diego and I sat down with my dad and I showed him the VR headset, and he took a look at Fukushima 6 years later. And he was impressed. And he asked me, how much do these cameras cost? Because he heard me telling my mom, this is what I want to do. I want to do the interviews, and then I want to do traveling from the perspective of being inside of an electric wheelchair. What can I do? What can I do? So we got to talking, and he says, well, how much are these cameras? I says, well, Samsung has one, and it's $250, $300. Or you can go all the way up to 6 GoPros for $5,000. And he called my mom in, and he says, Joanne, have you got $300? Give it to Miguel so he can buy the Samsung camera. No, he says, get it to Miguel because he's got a project that he wants to run, and we want to set him up on this. So my dad purchased the camera, and I had even told him the 2 aspects. One was the satanic interviews, I don't even see them as interviews, but just conversations.
Yeah, just conversations.
And then me riding around in the chair showing people different locations that I'm at and what is accessible in a wheelchair and what is not. And I've already gotten aboard the trolley, so people who are in a wheelchair, Robert, can see that if they get to San Diego, to go around town, all of the buses here are handicap accessible, and you can ride in your wheelchair and they take care of you. And the trolley is very accessible in a wheelchair, manual or electric. So it gives those of us that have limited mobility an opportunity to see we don't have limited opportunities.
Nice.
Very cool.
The San Francisco hands out free knee pads too, don't they? I heard.
Oh yeah, totally.
They hand out free what pads?
Knee, Knee.
Oh, knee pads.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because they're gay.
Oh God, you're gonna get me into another bad drinking joke that I did once. But so yeah, those are 2 of the projects that I'm working on now. You know, and just trying to maintain sanity. You know, hey, you fight the VA, the DAV. I've been to the DMV for the Motor Department of Motor Vehicles.
Speaking of V,
vagina.
Nah,
I don't know that.
VAG.
VAG.
I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I feel like the satanic.
Put a 360 camera in one. That'd be nice.
Actually, they have those videos out.
They got lights.
They have those videos out.
They do?
They do indeed.
Send me the link.
And yes, they do have VR.
I bet it's not nearly as interesting as you'd think.
Probably not.
Okay, well, let me get back to the outside again.
It looks like an alien hallway.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's one of those where you look down and you say, "Shit, when did I grow abs?" You know,
is this a throat? What is this?
You know, how did I get muscular all of a sudden? And I'm not that pasty, but no, it's damn, John. Those are just a couple of the projects that I've been working on.
Nice,
awesome, very cool. I think we know all about you now, Miguel. That's freaking great. And
sir,
well, you might be surprised. I had a commander say I was an onion. That says, "Oh yeah," goes, "Just when I think I know you, another layer peels off."
You know, ogres are like onions,
and it makes them cry.
Yeah, pretty much. If you got to deal with me long enough, you're bound to. You know.
All right, hold on, Adam.
Well, you notice the audience got quiet all of a sudden. I came out, started talking, and it's been crickets up there.
Adam's flashing his light. What is it, Adam?
Oh, before we jumped on the air, we had a little conversation about the Church of Satan archive project and Miguel's role in that, and I found that really, really interesting. I don't know if he wants to speak about that, but you know.
Wait, did you say roll? Was that a wheelchair joke? What the hell, Adam?
That's okay. That's just how we roll.
Do you want to roll into that?
Yeah, see, Dorian and I would have forgot that. I got to mention this real quick. Dorian and I would have forgotten that. And without Adam being our assistant and the wonderful assistant that he is, we would have just brushed right over and forgotten that. So please, thank you, Adam, and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam makes sure we have bios on people each week. We never did that shit before. So
yeah.
Like, what? With the information about them? Wow.
So tell us what you can about the Church of Satan archive project.
Well, and it was funny. When Adam mentioned it to me, I sent a quick text message saying, what is the Church of Satan Archive Project? And then he got back with me and let me know what it was, because I don't even think Blanche knew at that point, because she never got back with me. I was fortunate because of proximity. I've known Blanche for enough time, and she had all of this remarkable stuff that was in storage, and it needed to be moved. So I had a 2-car garage that really didn't need to have anything in it. I don't think anybody in San Diego has ever used a garage to actually put their car into it. If they did, they'd get a weird look. But I stored for a period of time some items for the organization. And then we had a group of very, very wonderful people come down. Magistra Waits and Magistra Barton came over, and they were sorting through stuff and organizing what is good, what needs to be kept, what is just stuff that we've kept over the years that is not necessarily why did we keep this type stuff.
Yeah.
And we had Milton Kruger came over, Zachary Simon came over, Colin McKenna came over, Matt Sanji came over, and I know I'm going to forget people, but Jason Grimes came over, and a very good friend of mine, a former Marine, came over. Very big guy. You don't want to upset Lou. Came over, and they would be bringing in boxes that Ruth and Magistra Barton would go through, Magistra Waits and Magistra Barton would go through. And we're talking, if anybody ever tells you that the Church of Satan is a tax front, you can tell them with all certainty, no, they're not, because those tax forms, I've seen them. Maybe not the form in and of itself, but we had those tax forms stored in those boxes, in the library boxes, those book boxes. We had those. We had documents from the organization. We had, letters going to the doctor, letters going to Ruth and not Ruth, excuse me, to Magistra Barton and the mages, Anton LaVey, cards that were signed to them, knickknacks, notes, drawings from Anton LaVey that he did from youth onward. We had
love to see those.
You name it, and they were in those boxes. There were files in there of just so many sundered items, and I love that kind of stuff. I'm a history type person anyway, so when I come across stuff that's old and of historical nature, I'm just tickled pink. So yeah, we had the better part of the garage. I think the boxes were something like 5 or 6 boxes high, and covering the vast majority of a 2-car garage, meaning you had to kind of crawl around the sides to get through, that were in there. And we got a pod, one of those great big shipping containers, and it was parked in the driveway, and they would go through and they had to sort things out. And at points, it was kind of, you have to remember, everything there, Blanche lived with all of that stuff. And some of that's family stuff. So it's, where do you differentiate, this is Anton LaVey, father, husband type stuff, family stuff, and organizational stuff. And I will tell you, Magistra Barton was very gracious on just about everything, that went through. But there were actual written threats to the organization that I've seen.
Wow.
Read these, and it's like, you hear, we got threats, and you go, okay. And then you actually have the paper in your hand that was returned from the police, and it is, I am going to drive up the 101 and shoot and kill all of you.
Wow.
And it just really makes it sink in what the early days of the organization were like. you really get a feel for it. And then you get the letters of appreciation from members, and you get the pictures that were sent to Dr. LeVay and Magistra Barton, and all the way back to some of the days with Diane. So you see a lot of that, and you come across a lot of the information. You see pictures of Anton LaVey and Togari and the snakes and the lions and everything that when people try to tell you this is hogwash, this is bullshit, he didn't do this, I've seen the documented evidence either in written format from organizations or photographic, dealing with everything that she had documented in the Church of Satan book and in the story of Anton LaVey, in the biography of Anton LaVey. So I've seen it. So for me, it was kind of cool. It's not like I went out and I'd go digging through the boxes, because that would have been just wrong. But when they would go through them, I happened to have the good fortune of actually being home, and it being my home, I could kind of peek over and answer a question. Well, what do you think of this? Well, I think, I could see where you're thinking on this. And I was able to come across some very, very neat stuff. We came across some albums that were cut by Dr. LeVay, in addition to the Satanic Mass, and in addition to Satan Takes a Holiday. So in addition to those, there were 2 or 3 other records, including a little blue one, which had numbered copies. And a few of us were very, very fortunate that we were given a copy of those. So
Nice.
yeah, it was just, if
Treasures.
anybody had it,
Yeah.
exactly. And to be so honored that they would trust me with the protection and guardianship of that, even in such a small way as I had. It was just really, really honorable. It was really nice. And it was just something that I got lucky, happened to be in the right place, happened to be at the right time. And I couldn't see any harm coming to any of this material for whatever reason, for whatever circumstances may have come up. There was just no way.
Yeah.
So I offered, they accepted, and we stored it there for a period of time. And it gave me the pleasure when I would hear a detractor make a comment, well, this is just a tax dodge. No, it's not. How do you know? I've seen the tax forms. I've seen the tax records. I know. You can't argue with somebody that says, I've seen.
Yeah.
Not, I was told. I've seen physically. So I'm very, very well aware. And I'm very humbled that Magus Gilmore and Magistra Nadrami allowed me that privilege, as well as Magistra, because at any time they could have said, well, this guy sounds like a flake, are we really sure? And they would have been right, because I know I do sound like a flake. But it was a very neat thing. And what I would love to be able to see down the road, I wish to hell I had the money to just have a location established where the paper's archived, the paper's maintained, it's digitized so that it's protected long term. The drawings are photographed and are archived and protected and mounted. The artwork of
the digitization should be a fairly simple process. Other than it takes time, but
yeah. Well, it's time, money, and just getting to it. So that takes a lot of money. And if I had the money, I would seriously just go to Poughkeepsie and say, sir, ma'am, here, I don't know how to do it, but let's hire the best people and let's get this done, so that someday down the future we can have a place that members can go and see it. We're already far enough from the Satanic Panic where it's an abstract. Yeah. To me, I dealt with it. It's an abstract because I didn't know that's what I was going through.
I think I would really
we
like to
know.
see. I mean, a decent scanner can get copies of a lot of the stuff that could make such an interesting book. Like
Yeah.
even a coffee table style book. Like we don't need the tax forms, obviously, and private information. But there's so much stuff there if you mix it up between drawings and between the a hate mail letter where you block out the name and just all these different things can make an amazing photographic book.
Right. You don't need a place anymore. That all that stuff is now in your living room.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. But even then, to have somewhere where we can go, okay, where we could walk in and there's, God, I hate to sound, the cult of personality is a communist expression, but it works so good with most religions. But to see the artwork, like what we do, like being done at the Devil's Reign, but the paintings of Anton LaVey that have been done, some of the Coop posters that have been done, some of the other things that have been done, and to actually see a copy of it. I happened to come across and see a couple copies of the actual advertisement for the Satanic Mass album. And on the bottom of it, it has mail this in and with this much
Yeah,
money.
it's sitting on my wall here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought those are cool, because if you don't have the album, which I do have, but if you don't have the album, that's cool in and of itself. But if you do have the album, you could frame it with that right next to it. And if you're slick, you frame it to where you can flip it around and see both sides, between two planes of glass. But that was my thinking. And this was just stuff that was in all of that. All of those archives was stuff like that. Just precious little gems. Yeah. I was telling
this could also go with your virtual reality idea. Instead of a place, you can make it a virtual place.
Make it a virtual place. Imagine a box or two boxes with the Satanic Bible that had been stored in the Black House while Anton LaVey lived there with Blanche Barton and Xerxes.
Yeah.
Now, Blanche tells me, well, they weren't really the doctors. The hell they weren't. They were in his house. Is how most of us would look at it. You know what I mean? They're in your home, yours.
Yeah.
I understand. They're the organizations. Who's the organization? So these are things that were shipped. Some of those things that were shipped to New York. I just really wish I could remember everything. The sword that Anton LaVey used for the opening ritual of the Church of Satan to open, to organize, was sent in that pod to Peter Gilmore.
Yeah,
and he's got it now to Magus Gilmore, and he's got that now. So yeah, like I said, just so many. Oh. I wonder if I got a picture of it still. If I do, I'll send it to you, John.
Okay.
And then you could send it to others. In Christianity, they have the what is that cup? The
Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, right?
I think it's more Catholicism, but yeah.
I saw the coffee cup, the ceramic mug that Anton LaVey used. And it's a really cool looking mug. It's just ceramic. It's got its own earthy look to it. And it was his cup. So it was like wicked. And I snapped a picture of it.
Miguel, I'm getting a call from the producers. We are actually running over time. We've got to close this up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Damn, I've been running away at the mouth again.
I got to eat dinner, gosh darn it.
Is Marlene giving you a hard time?
No, she's at school, but that's nobody's business. No. But listen, before you go, we have to ask you something. We ask everyone. What does Satan mean to you?
That's easy. Freedom. I know.
America!
No, not at all. Not at all. Look, when you are in any other religion, okay, your successes aren't your own. God blessed you. When you fuck up, you've pissed up God. So your life has just gone terrible. Okay. And what do? Gee, what did I do to piss off God? Oh, my, poor me. How can I get back in God's good graces? As a Satanist, when I have a setback, very much like what I'm going through, that's me. I could look at that and I could say, okay, I did this. This is what led to that. Or I could say, you know what? Circumstances conspired against me, but I'm going to work my way through this. Now, how do I get out of this? And then it's on me to get out of it. And I have the freedom to say, what is at my disposal to work out? Okay, how long will it take me to get a patent on that jewelry design, John, that I showed you? Because I'm starting that up. Once I get the patent, I sell my jewelry. And then once that piece of jewelry goes ballistic, let's say I'm making $1 million to $2 million. Do I have to give the church 10%, 20%, 30%, any percent? No. I have the freedom to say I made that money because I did it. I thought of it. Mm-hmm. I moved on it. I did that. If I don't want to listen to somebody's BS, I can stop them. And if somebody disrespects me, I have the freedom to let them know one more word and I'm going to put them out. One way or the other. So freedom is what Satan it represents. The freedom to learn what you want to learn. Remember what I said. When I picked up that Satanic Bible, I knew I was damned for eternity. I can pick up any book now and know my horizons are going to be broadened.
Because you can only be damned once.
Well, not only that, but it's a ridiculous folly. I have the freedom to read what I want, and I can learn. That mantra of study over worship. Worship, you're not studying. Study, we're advancing, we're moving forward, we're going to do better. We can't help it. And that's what I love about Satanism, and that's what I love about Satan, is I have that freedom to act in the manner that I was born to act in.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Was this one of the first 100?
Yes.
The top 100?
Yes.
It is definitely in the top 100. I can tell you that much.
And will be for quite some time.
Oh, good. You know,
at least 28 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Then I'll be like 101, a binary number.
Awesome. Miguel, we can't thank you enough. Very, very interesting getting to know you, and you are now a devil we know. And we just want to thank you for coming on, man.
Outstanding, John. I look forward to seeing you at the end of next month.
Nice.
That we're coming up 30 days.
Heck yeah.
Very awesome event. Dorian, I miss you, bud. I know I've only seen you once or twice. Unfortunately, it happened at that time frame when I had to bug out of California.
And then I left there too. So yeah.
Yeah, I wish you were still here, dude. Because I'll tell you something that I've told everybody. I am not tattooed. I really have no interest in being tattooed. But if anybody was going to tattoo me, it will be you.
Right on.
Nice.
You're the only person that I have ever said, yeah, if I got to get a tattoo, it'll be this person. And John, it's you.
You mean Dorian?
I've seen your work. Or Dorian, it'll be you. I've seen your work.
It'll be a picture of John.
Shh. You're going to make him blush.
Fuck.
But yeah, outstanding. And, Adam, I've seen your work. I'm impressed. I used the joke earlier about being the cowboy in the locker room of life, but compared to you guys and your abilities and your skills, I am just really humbled to be in the presence of such skilled artisans.
Oh, man. Thank you.
I know, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Right on.
Right.
Damn Skippy. And you did say you were going to hook me up with somebody when I'm there, John? No, I'm teasing.
I make sure everyone gets hooked up. Don't worry about it. It's always a good time. All right, until next time, everyone. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.